Hi, and welcome back to Focal Point AFR Talk. I want to thank again Matt Barber for coming on this program just as a sign of support and friendship. Again, the overall context there, the attack against me, is because I refused to talk about my private life with Alan Combs on Wednesday night. And Alan kept trying to get me to do it. I said, Alan, give it a rest. Not going to talk about it. Not appropriate. I'm not going to ask you about yours. I'm not going to talk about mine. The last person on the face of the earth I would talk about my private life would be to Alan Combs. Give it a rest. Well, the gay activists have taken that as a concession that I am a closet homosexual. So we dealt with that today, went on the record with where I'm at on that whole thing. So Matt, appreciate him coming on board to help with that. Now, I want to, first part of the program, first hour, I like to do values issues. Now, you know this Gosnell thing, the Kermit Gosnell, they're still in deliberations. And in fact, I've got a story here. I'm not going to have time to go through it, but it's a story about how the testimony has affected the jurors. I mean, they've had to wade into this moral sewer now for 6 or 7 weeks. And that'd be a tough thing for anybody. Here it is, Cheryl Sullinger on lifenews.com. Day 8 of jury deliberations in the Kermit Gosnell murder case ended yesterday without a verdict. It appears the jury may be struggling with some of the other charges as well, in perhaps a glimpse into the emotional state of the jury. They questioned Judge Jeffrey P. Meinhardt about the 227 counts of violating the 24-hour informed consent law. The jury asked if the files were the only evidence of these misdemeanor counts and whether they could issue one verdict for the entire lot of charges. The News Journal reported that some of the jurors appeared somewhat downcast when told they had to reach 227 separate verdicts on those accounts. So Philadelphia's got a 24-hour waiting period law. You can't get an abortion on the same day you go into the abortionist. You got to wait 24 hours. The idea is they want women to have an opportunity to think about whether, in fact, they do want to take the life of their unborn baby. 227 violations minimum that they have objective charges for. And the jury, you get the impression with this jury, the emotional toll is taken on them to have to listen to this testimony for the first time, then rehear some of this testimony, re-examine some of the gruesome evidence is taking a toll on them. Now, here's Nancy Pelosi, clip number 1, Rob. Nancy Pelosi being asked about Gosnell. Now, the media has pretty much buried this thing. The media, I mean, ABC, to my knowledge, still has not done one single solitary piece on the Gosnell case. At the climax of the case, I think CBS did 13 seconds on a Thursday and 11 seconds a week ago today on Friday. So there's been a virtual total blackout on this case. And I think it's because it's gruesome. It is so grotesque. It is so Nazi-esque. We're finding out that it's not that uncommon. This is not a rare thing for this to happen. Kermit Gosnell is not an outlier. Kirsten Powers, Democrat strategist, hardcore pro-choicer, I mean, this thing has rattled her. She's written 3 columns on USA Today about this thing, saying to the media, look, this ought to be a front page story. Whatever you believe about abortion and unborn babies, this ought to be a front page story because this is so gruesome and so grotesque. Now, Nancy Pelosi yesterday was actually asked about this at a press conference that she did, and she's obviously aware of this, and the press that's asking the question, they're obviously aware of the Gosnell thing, and here's what Nancy Pelosi said when she was asked.
In light of the trial in Philadelphia of the doctor, Kermit Gosnell, is there any role at all that Congress should play in making sure that what happened in that clinic isn't happening elsewhere in this country?
I think whatever went on there, and I only know what you all report on it, is really disgusting. Is really disgusting. And when we talk about reproductive health for women, that's not what we're talking about.
Well, let's move down to clips 9 and 10 and see what we are talking about when we talk about reproductive health. Now, Nancy Pelosi, to her credit, saying, look, this is totally disgusting. She used the word disgusting twice, what happened in the Gosnell. So she knows what happened. She's heard the stories, read the accounts of the baby's spinal cords being snipped basically suffering internal decapitation to kill them. Babies being born alive and then butchered by this Joseph Mengele type. Babies born into a toilet, flapping around in there, trying to swim their way out. They've heard all of the testimony, the baby parts stored in pickle jars inside his clinic. They've heard this. Nancy Pelosi's aware of this, and she is aware that it's all disgusting. But again, they want to think this has nothing to do with abortion in general. Well, Live Action Films went into the office of Dr. Leroy Carhart. He's one of the abortionists that does late-term abortions in America. Undercover investigator in there to talk to him about the procedure, the late-term abortion procedure, and listen to the analogy that this guy uses for a baby, for an unborn baby. He's taken a needle, he's inserted the needle through the chest wall of the baby and into the heart, and injected digoxin into the baby's heart to kill it. And this is the analogy now that he uses when talking about the baby that he has just killed. Let's listen.
And the baby
will come through, it'll compress down and come through that because it's not alive. And
So when you say compress down?
It gets soft, like mushy.
Oh.
So you push it through.
So what makes the baby mushy?
The fact that it's not alive for 2 or 3 days.
So I'll have a dead baby in me?
For 3 days, yeah.
Will it start to decay or something?
No, no, it's like putting meat in a crock pot. Okay, it doesn't get broke, but it gets softer. It doesn't get infected or.
Okay, so the dead baby in me is like meat in a crock pot.
Pretty much, yeah, kind of much.
All right.
So it's like meat in a crock pot. When I kill the baby with the injection, it kills the baby, and the body of the baby goes all soft and mushy, just like putting some meat in a crock pot. It just gets soft and mushy. And you'll notice that she twice refers to the baby as a baby, not as a fetus, not as an it. What makes the baby mushy? And he doesn't correct her. He accepts her terminology. It's a baby, and says the fact that it is not alive for 2 to 3 days. So I will have a dead baby in me. And he says for 3 days, yeah. She says again, so the dead baby in me is like meat in a crock pot. And he said pretty much, yeah, like in a slow cooker. So 3 or 4, actually 4 times in that exchange, she uses the word baby to describe what she's carrying. And Dr. Leroy Carhart, who will abort babies well after 24 weeks, is saying, yeah, that's he's not denying that it's a baby. If you want to call in and weigh in on what we've talked about today, so far this program, my conversation with Matt Barber, the way the left has tried to use my refusal to talk about my private life with Alan Combs. Love to have you weigh in on that. And then your reactions here to the stuff that we are hearing, this undercover investigation done by Live Action Films. 888-589-88. Call 888-588. About anything you want to talk about, as long as it's something that has been a topic we've discussed over the course of this week. Now, here is clip number 2. Again, the undercover investigator, talking with Dr. Carhart about the process of a late-term abortion. And they've talked about the fact that the baby is dead, and she begins by saying, what was it that killed the baby? Let's listen.
All right. And what was it that killed it?
The injection that we do.
The first one?
The second one.
Oh, the second one.
I mean, I've done some when the women can't have that shot if they're alive. I mean, it just, I'm sure the baby feels a needle stick if the baby feels anything, and I truly don't believe that it does at 26 weeks.
For some reason,
never had.
I'm not able to deliver. Well, you'll be able to get it out.
Take it out in
pieces.
But that at 26 weeks is very, very rare.
And what do you use to break it up? Just
a whole bunch of it.
Got a toolkit.
Pick, axe, a drill bit, I mean, there's just instruments that have been developed.
So if that did happen, you'd make sure I didn't have like a hand left in there or something.
Yes, yeah.
I don't know.
I can't promise.
It's like a Hollywood movie waiting.
But I would certainly tell you that we will do everything in our best to make sure there's nothing left behind.
Okay, so it's just like a normal delivery.
Except the baby's unalive.
Okay, so the baby's dead.
And what makes it safer is the fact that I only have you to worry about. So whatever I have to do to the baby to keep you healthy, I can do. I'd have better luck standing in front of a train and getting hit and surviving than going 100 miles an hour.
Than the baby will. He says the chances of that baby, and he uses the word baby. Notice that. He uses the word baby. The chances that that baby that I just shot up with this digoxin right into its heart, the chance that that baby is going to live is worse than the chances of me living if I got it in front of a speeding train and the thing ran me over. That's how sure I am that I have killed your baby. And he says, I can do anything I want to that baby if it's in order for me, at least in my mind, to provide help to you. So this is just about, ladies and gentlemen, about as inhuman as things get. And once again, you know, Gosnell is not an error on this. You hear Leroy Carhart, same deal. You know, we saw these investigators going into other abortion clinics getting the same kind of thing. Well, we'll put the baby in this toxic solution so it can't survive. It can't breathe. The baby will die in this toxic solution that we put in it. And, you know, you hear this Carhart talking about how they pull the baby apart. They bring it out in pieces. If the baby is not delivered whole, intact, they go in there and take it out in pieces. And he says, we've got a whole bunch of instruments, a whole bunch of tools that we have developed to take babies apart limb by limb and piece by piece in the womb. And she says, you've got a toolkit. And he says, yeah, I got a pickaxe, I got a drill bit, and then he just laughs. He thinks the whole thing is funny that he's got all of these tools in his toolkits to literally pull babies apart limb from limb. So that is the state of things in the pro-abortion world. Came across a survey today indicating that 58% of the American people oppose abortion. They do not want abortion readily available. So, you know, the minds of the American people are changing on the issue of the sanctity of life. This Gosnell thing is certainly helping. I think the fact that the media has been able to bury this thing has blunted the impact that it otherwise would have, but the minds of the American people are changing. Focal Point AFR Talk, back in 2.